Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Striker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and this is the place if you are ready to dominate. The upcoming NFL fantasy season, whether you're a season-long manager, you're making your money playing DFS, straight-up wagering, whatever it is, we have got you covered. Quick reminder, at SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV. Those are our social media handles. Make sure you're following along. A lot of information coming your way because we have the author of the Fantasy Black Book. It's available now. It updates constantly. It's a living, breathing document. It's changing the way people are destroying leagues. Joe Pisapia. Now, Joe, I know people will say, a book? What do you mean a book? But you digitally update. Well, look, we're from a time where, dude, I still look over my shoulder when I go in reverse. We drank from the hose. We played wiffle ball until the lights came on. We were just talking about this before we came in. But the difference with your Fantasy Black Book is that it updates. It's a living, breathing thing. And it's a great way to introduce people just to the conversation of how to look at the game differently.
Well, I think you and me drinking from the hose explains a lot about us. I think it explains a lot, probably, at the end of the day. But yeah, and it's not just the digital copy, too. I've also updated the paperback version, too, of the Black Book just last week. So all the updated RPV is in there. And if you want to keep with the updates, you can do that, too. I can send them digitally to you if you purchase the Black Book on Amazon, which is great. And you stay ahead of all of your leagues, and you have your little cheat sheet with you, boom, in the little PDF file. And you're set. It's all the relative position value, too. So it's not just a ranking where you can't quantify it. It's got all the RPV in there. So you know where the drop-offs are, where the negative players are at their respective positions. Now, one team that doesn't have a lot of negatives is the Kansas City Chiefs. And yesterday, Patrick Mahomes, with his behind-the-back pass and his deep ball to Xavier Worthy, showed you once again, this team is looking for three. They smell the three-peat. Last year, as soon as the Super Bowl ended, the first words out of Patrick Mahomes' mouth were basically, and then next year when we win it again, we're going to establish ourselves as the greatest dynasty ever. They know. No team has done this. No team has ever gotten to 3-1-3. So in a row. That is something that is on their minds. It's something they're preparing for. And Matt, I don't think it's out of their grasp at all. They are very laser focused about this. And the coach, the continuity, offensive line still pretty good. Isaiah Pacheco is healthy for now. That's a good thing. You brought in some depth. I know Hollywood Brown is hurt already, but eventually you hope that he comes back. But regardless, you have Rashee Rice, you have Xavier Worthy, you have some pieces here that I think you can still live with if you're the Chiefs. And nobody's better at making the ancillary pieces better than Patrick Mahomes. So I'd be looking for the Chiefs here to go over their win total. The win total for them is 11.5. And I don't see how they don't get this, especially when you consider that they have games in their division that are very winnable. They could easily go 5-1 or even 6-0. So there's 6 wins right there. Now you tell me in the rest of the schedule we can't find 5 more wins somewhere or 6 more wins. I think you can. I think you can pretty easily. So to me, even though the Chiefs are going to play one of the tougher schedules, and out of the gate they do get the Bengals, they do get the Baltimore Ravens those first 2 weeks. Those are going to be tough matchups for sure. I think they're a much better team than Buffalo, much better team than the Cleveland Browns, than the Pittsburgh Steelers currently too. Those are all the teams that are on their agenda for the 2024 season, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers too. I think they are much closer to a 13-win team than they are an 11-win team. So I would take the over despite the fact that it's a high number. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. You're still getting minus 110 right now on that over. To make the playoffs, obviously there's no value there. It's minus 500. To win the AFC, plus 350, that's still pretty good. The big contenders are the Ravens. The big contenders are the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe you could throw the Jets and that defense in there, maybe, but Aaron Rodgers in big games has not necessarily shown you he's ready for those moments in a very long time. Houston Texans were fun last year. Do we really think they're going to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs? And I guess my point is this. If they go over the win total, they get 13 wins, 14 wins, they're going to have the bye and 2 home playoff games. And there's not a lot of teams besides Joe Burrow that can go into Kansas City and prove that they can win. So why not, again, go look at the boring old wager for the Chiefs? I know people have Chiefs fatigue. I get it. But Matt, why, if you bet again, I put this out there yesterday. If you bet on the New England Patriots to make the Super Bowl from 2001 up until a couple years ago,
Right.
you were doing pretty good if you bet every single year for them to make the Super Bowl, right? There was a lot of Patriots fatigue. Was it still a good wager? I think it was.
Sure. Well, here's the thing, man. When you say things like fatigue, I never have heard anyone say money fatigue, monetary fatigue, winning fatigue. These aren't things that we hear often. These aren't terms that we throw around. So I think we have to understand overall when we look at anything, looking at economics, looking at the stock market, looking at sports, look at what the public is doing and fade the public. Most times the public are wrong. Most times the public are just doing what the person next to them is doing. Well, guess what? The person next to you is not Joe Pisapia. The person next to you is not Derek Brown. The person next to you isn't the people here at SportsGrid. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So that's why we talk about a team like the Chiefs. And then you look at their schedule. Let's play the game that we used to play with the time that we have left. Go through each and every game and say win or loss, and then do the math, find the win total, and then go place your wager. I mean, I can do that with you if you want. It might be tedious, but it's fun. I mean, they start off against Baltimore right there. Do they win that game?
Look, I think at home they do, but then again, last year, remember, week 1, first game Thursday night, upset. The Lions went in and beat them. So anything is possible. I do expect that to be a competitive game, but I think that kind of sticks in your memory if you're the Chiefs, and especially if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that you didn't come out of the gate strong last year. Again, the Kelsey injury right before week 1 happened with that ankle, that's something that did linger for a while. He wasn't 100% healthy for that game. He was showing up to play and he was being a warrior, right? So let's say you get a split in those first 2 games at home, right? Maybe they lose one of them. I don't think so. I think they go 2-0, but let's give them the split. So that's 1 win. Falcons should be a win. Chargers should be a win. Saints should be a win. They're going to beat San Francisco. I don't care if it's in San Francisco. Andy Reid is always going to outcoach Kyle Shanahan at every stretch because Kyle Shanahan is going to think he's too smart for the room and make bad decisions. Right. You should beat the Raiders. That's 6. You should beat the Buccaneers. That's 7.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there.
Okay.
Hang on.
That's 7.
Now, taking you back to the first 3 weeks, the Ravens and then the team that you, Mr. Pisapia, says can beat the Chiefs every time, the Bengals. Then the Falcons that are upstart. What are the chances? What are the odds? The Kansas City Chiefs are 0-3 or 1-2 by the end of the first 3 weeks.
Very low. I think you're not giving the Chiefs enough credit. And I think it favors the Chiefs to play these teams early, as they're still trying to find out the new identities. Like, okay, the Derrick Henry portion of this offense, how is it all going to work in conjunction with everything else, right? The Kirk Cousins health, getting him early, where he maybe isn't quite as mobile and a little bit more susceptible to sacks and some other issues. Plus, again, new offense, new situation, all those new things. So I think getting those teams earlier is pretty good too. And also Joe Burrow hasn't played a lot of football. So I think had these games been in week 10, 11, 12, I think they would scare me a little bit more than they do in 1, 2, 3. So that's a great question you asked. But I do think catching those good teams earlier is, I think, better suited to them. And then after the 7, you've got the Broncos.
Get me to the 14 wins. Go ahead. Go.
9, they're going to beat Buffalo. They're certainly going to get 10 here with Carolina. 11,
they beat the Chargers twice.
12, 13. Let's say they lose a game to the Texans. Good defense. They get up for that game. And then let's say that they beat the Steelers there. You're up to 14 then, possibly. If they drop one of those first 2, you're at 14 wins. There you go. That's basically where you're at. Is
anyone else even close? What's the next closest team? 12?
In the AFC, you'd have to look. But I would think that the one team that's really dangerous here this year, based on their division, that's kind of a work in progress, outside of the Packers, is actually the Detroit Lions, because I think the Lions are in a good position this year to get that home field advantage for the NFC. And if they get it, that is a home field advantage. That building last year for that playoff game was insane. Imagine an NFC championship game in Detroit. I'll let you imagine that, and we'll be back with more.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday. in Greenbrier. Now, live golf history was made by this man, the high flyer's Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5, 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12, an eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th LIV Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a 2nd straight win in the LIV Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of LIV Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe giving you everything you need in order to dominate upcoming NFL fantasy football season. It's not just fantasy, Joe. Wagering, DFS. I mean, these are ways that people are honestly supplementing whatever revolving bills they have. And all of us have them, whether it be a streaming service, a music service, maybe we just like to go out to eat to a nice steak dinner. Winning because we like to watch sports. Winning because we like to watch and listen to SportsGrid. And people like Joe, it feels good. It really does. So in order to win, we need to prepare. So we've been doing these team previews. We've been going in alphabetical order. If you've missed anything at all, please go back into the archives. It's all there for you. We're up to the letter N. Joe said it. A lot of new. Let's go to New England, the New England Patriots. A lot of people may not know where New England is. Joe, I will let you explain the geography because you are their biggest fan. Let's talk about the Patriots.
Yes, but I'm also a realistic one. This is not going to be one of the better offenses to invest in. Sorry, folks. It's just not going to be. That doesn't mean you can't invest in it at all, but the hope is that at some point Drake May takes over the reins. Jacoby Brissett is a very capable guy for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, even an entire season if they just want to let Drake May kind of soak it in. I do like the personality of Drake May too. I like the tape. I like the personality. I think he's got the right kind of swagger. I don't think the shadow of Tom Brady is too big for him. I don't think he cares. And it's a couple years now past there. We've gone through Cam Newton. We've gone through Mac Jones. It's all been bad. So now there's a little bit of hope. New coach, Gerard Mayo, to a lot of new here with these New England Patriots. But I do think it's going to kind of look a little bit like the old Patriots. Now, the biggest deficit last year is they did not have an offensive coordinator. What the hell they were doing, I don't know. Get a bunch of defensive guys to call offensive plays. Bill Belichick, I think, had finally kind of lost the reins there a little bit. Now you have somebody with an offensive mind actually calling offensive plays. I do think things will improve slightly, but only slightly, because this is not a big-time scoring offense. They do have Ramondre Stevenson, though. And Stevenson got paid this offseason. A couple years ago, he established himself as a running back that I think you want in your fantasy drafts, a running back that I think has the ability to have a low-end RB1 season if everything broke right. But I still believe, going as RB20 off the board, that Ramondre Stevenson can still give you something like 1,000 yards rushing, 400 yards receiving. And the reason why I think that is because he did it in 2022. And where did that put him for the year? RB11. Antonio Gibson, I don't think is a real thing to be too concerned with. I think he kind of plays that secondary passing role, maybe, goes out there in the slot a little bit too. But to me, Ramondre Stevenson is the focal point of the offense. So even though it's a lackluster offense, it's one that's easy to invest in because you know the piece. It's Stevenson, it's running the football, it's playing defense. It's what they are right now. Now, late in drafts, there is a little value when it comes to the wide receivers. Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas is an intriguing guy. Last year kind of came on strong, explosive to a certain degree, something they're really lacking in that offense. Jalen Polk, I haven't really got on board with, but Javon Baker, who actually went after him, I think is the more intriguing piece. A lot of good buzz on Baker coming out of camp so far. That's something to keep an eye on in those 14-team leagues. Demario Douglas, Javon Baker, again, not super exciting offenses, but guys that have opportunity for target share as the season progresses. And in those deeper formats, those 14-team leagues, as I'm saying, those guys are going to eventually come into play, I do believe. The rest of it, again, not super exciting from the fantasy standpoint.
Oh my gosh, Joe. Really? Can you do? Let me ask you something though. Should there be a rule that if you're on a team with less than 10 wins, that you cannot do the first down sign after you make an innocuous catch? You cannot flex your muscle tackle. Is it wrong? Because here's the thing. I look at teams like New England, and now we're going to talk about the Saints coming up. And I get it. You're pumped to be out there, whatever. But you're on a team that really is trying hard to just even be relevant across all forms, except for really wagering with people fading you and going against you. So when you come up and you're demonstrative with a first down and a run, dude, you suck. I'm sorry. Like, if that's the best thing you can do, you suck. All right, with that said, dude, let's go to the New Orleans Saints. That was my intelligent analysis twice. Derek Carr at the helm. Thank you. It worked for Kurt Angle. Alvin Kamara is the conversation, though. That to me is where I want to go, but I'll put it in your lap. Talk to me about the Saints.
Yeah, look, Derek Carr as your second quarterback in a super flex is not going to kill you. Will he lose some touchdowns here and there to Taysom Hill? Probably. Is that going to make you want to throw something at your television? Most likely. But it's going to happen, and that's what's going to keep his value somewhere around QB 16 or 17, but a guy you can get by with. Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller is still dealing with some injuries in camp, and this is a guy that has yet to stay healthy, and the coaches kind of called him out. The quote a couple weeks ago was, if Kendre Miller wants to play, he's got to find a way to get on the field. That's not real encouraging. That's not a big vote of confidence. It seems like more of a challenge to me out there. Chris Olave, right, we touched on earlier in the show as being a steady Eddie kind of wide receiver, good, but is capped a little bit in terms of being able to be great. I don't see him having a 10 touchdown season. I don't think that's in the range of outcomes for him. But Alvin Kamara's value is really intriguing to me because Kendre Miller so far hasn't really stepped up, and neither is anybody else really in this backfield. So, yeah, maybe the touchdown total was low last year, but he did miss some time with that suspension. Let's not forget the first 4 games. But I'm telling you right now, RB17, I think, is a little low for Alvin Kamara, especially in full PPR leagues. And he only had the 5 rushing touchdowns last year, but even though he only played 13 games, he still finished as RB14. So I think he's being a little undervalued in the marketplace. And if you are going big wide receiver early and you're looking to make things up, make up ground, I do think Alvin Kamara is a really good way to do that because you know his role in the offense. You know he's going to get a ton of opportunities. He's going to rush the football. He's going to catch the football. Sure, the touchdowns, once again, could be frustrating. We've seen them come in bunches at times too. But Matt, I look at Alvin Kamara as another one of these veteran guys that has just kind of been out there a while. People aren't as excited about drafting, but I kind of know who Alvin Kamara is and what he is in his offense. I don't know where Joe Mixon really falls into this new offense that he's in. Would you rather have Mixon, who's going ahead of Kamara, or take Alvin Kamara and take those PPR points?
No, Joe Mixon, it would be that way for me all day just because of the offensive ecosystem. But I understand Kamara in isolation may be a different player. But I'm with you. I do think that a lot of people start to look in a different direction. And maybe the bloom is off the rose. Doesn't mean that it still doesn't smell nice. Joe?
Well, things are smelling better, potentially, in the wide receiver room for the New York Giants now that Malik Neighbors is there. We're going to break down the New York Giants when we come back. Can Daniel Jones finally get it done? We'll tell you after this.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This is his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Neiman for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt Striker and Joe Pisapia with you here, diving in deeply to NFL team previews ahead of many people going into their drafts for the fantasy football season. Stick with us. We promise you, if nothing else, you will win on your wagers, on your props, probably win your leagues too. All right, we're diving in here. We're going in alphabetical order. If you missed anything, please go back to the archives. Everything is there. It's time to continue with the letter N, the New York Giants. Now, let me tell you something. I've lived in New York my entire life, and I think this season there's going to be riots. There's going to be fights. I'm not talking about the political landscape. I'm just talking just right in Jersey alone, because I think the Giants are trending downward. I think the Jets are trending upward. This is going to be rough. Let's talk Giants first, Joe.
Yeah, the New York Giants. You see Daniel Jones with a new beard, but I don't think it's going to hide the bad quarterback play. Yesterday, instead of taking a sack for a safety and giving up 2 points, he chucked a ball in the air and threw a pick, and it was 6 points. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think people tend to forget with Daniel Jones, too. There's always this cockeyed optimism when it comes to the New York Giants, because in the past, they were an organization that had established themselves as a Super Bowl contender at certain times with the Parcells era, and then even later on during Eli Manning's tenure with Tom Coughlin. There's an organization that's had some good moments over the last 30, 40 years in our lifetime. Now, it's been a while since one of those good seasons, and Hard Knocks gave a lot of people a lot of, hey, the Hard Knocks offseason, we drafted Malik Neighbors, he's going to be great. He might be great, but you can only be as good as your quarterback plays. And it's funny because I'm now on this weird situation where I have to somehow be the guy who used to defend Daniel Jones and say, I don't think he's as bad as everybody thinks he is. And now I'm the guy saying, I don't think he's as good as everybody says he is either, or thinks he's going to be this year. Daniel Jones, without Saquon Barkley, those numbers are stark. And I know you can make the argument and say, well, he didn't have a lot else to work with besides Saquon Barkley. My argument is, well, if you don't have a lot to work with without Saquon Barkley, what's going to happen this year when you don't have Saquon Barkley? Because you don't. You have Devin Singletary. So that's a big question I think we have to ask ourselves. What does Daniel Jones look like without that elite running back to take some pressure off of him? Yeah, Malik Neighbors is there. And if you look at the stats for Malik Neighbors in terms of projections, they look like 6 touchdowns, about 1,000 yards receiving, 80 catches. I think that sounds about right to me. I don't think this is the floor, though. I think this is kind of what you're going to get. Does he have the talent to go 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns? Of course he does. Does Daniel Jones have the way to get him there? And if it's not Daniel Jones or he gets hurt again, is it Drew Lock? There's a lot to unpack here if you're the Giants. So I know people love Malik Neighbors, but this is that perfect quintessential moment where you look at the offensive ecosystem, look at the quarterback play, look at the offensive line, look at the coaching, look at all those things coming together and say, why do I believe Malik Neighbors is better than wide receiver 20 or in that range where he's being drafted? And I don't think he is. I know some people think he is talent-wise, and I would agree there. But we're not talking about talent. We're talking about application. And I think that's where I struggle most here with the New York Giants. So I'm going to put it to you. What have you seen out of Daniel Jones and his career that makes you confident that now just because he's got an elite level talent wide receiver, that Daniel Jones can supply him with catchable balls in good situations where it turns into fantasy points?
God, short answer is nothing, because the first time teams double on Neighbors and Jones has to check down to Wan'Dale Robinson and then Slayton, and you just see the panic. He's the only guy that I've ever seen where you can see panic through a football helmet, and that's Daniel Jones for me. So I'm with you 100%. I think that Neighbors is good, but again, once you eliminate him from the equation, what's left? Do you want to move on to the Jets? Or you want to just wait, actually? You know what? I think we should just wait here, because the difference is going to be so stark. And I think it's a good conversation to have with a player like Malik Neighbors versus a player like Garrett Wilson, or looking at some of the Jets receiving corps. There isn't a lot to root for if you're a Giant fan. That's why I think there's just going to be such volatility, Joe.
There is going to be volatility. And I think that the other thing you have to look at is, okay, what did we replace Saquon Barkley with? Well, Devin Singletary, I think, is better than people have given him credit for in his career. And he's always showed that, hey, you give me the ball, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be, kind of a league average running back and get the job done. And that's good. And that's a good thing. But the Giants win total is 6.5 right now. That's not a great win total. The division they're playing in still has the Cowboys last time I checked, and still has the Eagles. Oh, yeah, and they have a Commanders team that's Jaden Daniels right now. Yeah. So the Giants organization put themselves in a tough situation where they paid Daniel Jones, they committed to Daniel Jones, and possibly have doubled down on a mistake. Now, maybe things emerge, maybe a different, healthy Daniel Jones with a new perspective. Who knows what's available out there? But in terms of making investments in wagering or in fantasy, I'm looking at more unders than overs when it comes to the New York Giants. Again, not a team that I want to necessarily be investing in when it comes to fantasy. When we return, are the Jets that team? We'll tell you right after this.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyer's Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12, an eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th Live Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the Live Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of Live Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, an 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
Welcome back into FST, Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Striker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and we are having an absolute blast here, as we do each and every week on this show, as I believe every single host on this network does. It's just really important to enjoy the people with whom you work. If you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Joe, crew, everyone behind the glass, thank you so much. And of course, to all our listeners out there, we love what we do because of you. It's time to look at NFL bounce back candidates, Joe. Now, you write the Fantasy Black Book. You sit down and personally did the quarterbacks, I believe, this year was under your umbrella. So You're the perfect guy to have the conversation because I love this next player, always have. He's one of these set it and forget it. And I don't care about flashy bells and whistles. I just want to know that you're not going to be a headache for me. And that's what this next player is. Take it away on this quarterback in a new offensive ecosystem.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins brings his Coles cash to Atlanta. That's right. That's where he's going right now. And I think, once again, people continue to underestimate Kirk Cousins. In 2020, he finishes QB11. In 2021, he finishes QB11. In 2022, he finishes QB7. And then last year, obviously, the incomplete season, only played 8 games, so we throw that out the window. But he is in a situation here you can argue is pretty much lined up as good as it gets. You have a stud young running back, a stud tight end, and a stud wide receiver, all of which are still in their very much prime years of football. So there might be a little bit of time where you're trying to figure out system, you're trying to figure out timing, you're trying to figure out all those little tiny details. That's what training camp is for. And Cousins has been working his way slowly back from that Achilles injury, being a little careful, which is a good thing. But the big takeaway I have with Kirk Cousins is I heard an interview with him on the NFL radio channel earlier this week, and he was saying that the big difference for him now is at this stage in his career, people will say, well, we could do this or we could do that. And he said he's a player that typically would just go with whatever the coach wanted over his career. And he said, now that I'm where I am in my career and how many years I've left in my career and been around so long, I'm finally speaking out. He said, I feel like I've finally, found my voice where I'm like, yeah, you know what? We've done X. Let's do Y instead. Y is going to work out better from what I've seen and what I've been able to do in my career. That to me is the maturation of a player. And I think you would, even in your other days as a professional wrestler, there's certain things with the ring IQ you start to get to where you just got to know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Instead of just being the good soldier and going through stuff, you're voicing your opinion about stuff. And I think that command is going to serve the Falcons well and possibly get them off to a better start. So if you're in a single quarterback league, in a deeper league, again, or even just a 12-team league, taking a Jaden Daniels at the end and maybe a Cousins just to back it up, man, that's having your cake and eating it too. Because if Daniels goes off, he could be a top 5, top 6 quarterback. And if he doesn't play well, Kirk Cousins is going to finish as QB10 and you're okay. And I think that's exactly where you're at with Cousins. I love him at Superflex this year. I think you're getting a value on him. I would take him over Stafford. I would take him over Aaron Rodgers, all those guys where he's going over currently. So Kirk Cousins, I would be looking for a bounce back season.
All right. I like it. That's the word on the street from Joe Pisapia. Now, word on the street on Sirius XM channel 159 SportsGrid Radio is that Joe Pisapia is going to talk about Tony Pollard in Tennessee. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. Again, I don't want to get too crazy here. Okay. He is being drafted as an RB3 right now. And I think you could do worse. And this is one of those things where, what do I always say, Matt? Follow the money. So Tajay Spears is there. It's an easy situation if you just want to roster the entire backfield. Okay. But I think what's so interesting is they went out there and they still, despite the fact they had Tajay Spears, they decided to spend a significant amount of money on Tony Pollard, which means Tony Pollard's probably going to get a lot of the opportunities earlier on. And Tony Pollard is a running back that throughout his Cowboys career did work in tandem with somebody else, Ezekiel Elliott, other running backs at different times, right? Last year we thought, he's going to get everything and it's going to be glorious and he's going to go from a guy that's just good to great. And it didn't quite happen, but I think that's our fault in the fantasy community because we didn't take that surgery in the offseason seriously enough. He still finished as RB15. The year before he was RB7 and now he's being drafted as RB26 or 27. I think that's value. So when it comes to Tony Pollard, I think that's what it looks like. It looks like a guy that as an RB3, I think you could do worse, especially if you're in early wide receiver builds on your roster. Yeah, I think a shot at Tony Pollard could be decent enough, especially in PPR formats.
All right, Joe Pisapia, author of the Fantasy Black Book, weigh in on one of the top 5 conversations for the upcoming fantasy season. Cooper Kupp. Your thoughts?
The ultimate boomer bust, right? 31 years old, a guy that has broken fantasy before, and a guy that's been broken and broken your dreams in fantasy before. So this is a tough one for me. If you're in a league that's playing for a large prize, let's just put it that way, perhaps I fade Cooper Kupp just a little bit. If you're playing for fun, sure, let's give Cooper Kupp another turn around the sun and see what happens. Reports have been good so far. That's encouraging. But he has missed significant time in the last 2 seasons, and he is 31 years old with a lot of tread on the tires. And before his enormous 2,000-yard season, let's not forget, Cooper Kupp did have some injury issues as well. I think with Cooper Kupp, the best way I can put it is this. If I can draft him as my 3rd wide receiver, man, that's a fantastic league-winning opportunity. True. And if he misses time, it doesn't hurt me. But right now, he's being drafted more as a wide receiver 2 range. That could hurt me potentially in my drafts. So for me, who starts out early wide receiver, there's a better chance that I could go, 3 wideouts to start my draft or 3 out of the first 4 picks, depending on where I am. And if so, Cooper Kupp is my 3rd in the 4th round. Man, that would be a great pick there. But to take him as my number 2, I still have my doubts potentially about him being there on a weekly basis. So again, the ultimate boomer bust, but it depends on your situation, your tolerance. In a 10-team league, far more apt to take Cooper Kupp as well. Why? Because the replacement value is easier, and it's so much better in terms of the depth and the supply and demand of the position, right? Or in a league where you're only playing 2 wide receivers, right? Cooper Kupp's on there too. That's okay. I got all these other flex spots. I've got more replacement value. It's okay.
Joe, with the addition of Derrick Henry to Baltimore's offensive ecosystem, how will that, if at all, impact Mark Andrews' production in the upcoming year?
It's going to make play action even better. I can tell you that much right now.
Right?
That's going to be, just think about that. You're a defense, right? And they're setting up in these play actions or these RPOs. Do you want Lamar Jackson to run around you, or do you want Derrick Henry to run over you? You got to make that choice. That's a tough choice. I think we've talked about it before. But Mark Andrews, then, this is another guy, it's about health. It's also about ADP to a certain degree, too. He's going as the tight end 3 or 4 in most drafts, somewhere in that range. But behind him are guys that are younger and I think equally capable. So I struggle with the overall ADP somewhere around 50. Around that same range, Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, and then a little later, Kittle, Pitts, and Ingram. I'm very much this year with tight end position saying whatever the value that falls to me is where I'm comfortable. If I get a little bit of a discount on the elite guys, cool. If I get a discount on Mark Andrews that's extreme and somebody takes McBride before him, okay, I can understand taking Mark Andrews. After that, if it's not a good value in a good situation, or there's wide receivers or running backs I like more, or maybe that one quarterback I really want on my team, I'm okay fading Mark Andrews because I do believe the McBrides, the Kincaids, the Pitts, all those guys are worthy. And look, Evan Ingram last year finished as one of the top tight ends, and he's probably going to still get a huge workload this year. And that's another guy that got paid last year. So you can actually look at tight end as pretty deep this year and good return on investment options. But that being said, if Mark Andrews is healthy, I think Mark Andrews could have a very good season and could even challenge for that number 1 spot. If you look at what he's done in his career, he's done that before. In 2021, he was the tight end 1. He had 107 receptions. He was tight end 4 in 2022 with 73 catches. Now, last year, he only played 10 games. That hurt him. But if he bounces back, you're looking at a lock value at top 5 tight end. And that, to me, if you're getting any sort of discount, you take it. And I think that's a smart investment. So Andrews, Cousins, Tony Pollard, and of course, Cooper Kupp. These are all guys, veterans to a certain degree, right? That can help your fantasy teams. And I think you're getting values on because of the veteran status and because of what happened or injuries that unfortunately derailed them in 2024. All right, we teased it earlier, so get ready, Jet fans. We're going to preview your Jets for fantasy football.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyers Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5, 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12. An eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th LIV Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the LIV Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of LIV Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first. An 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today, where during the break, one of your hosts was making potty jokes, and the other was talking about the psychological implications of sports fandom. And that brings us to the New York Jets. I've grown up in New York my entire life. Well, I grew up in New York. I've grown up my entire life, pretty much. That's why I'm here now.
You're still growing.
And
You're a
honestly,
growing
yes.
It's
Yeah,
still
in
a
lot of
growing
places, trust me.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a fandom as rabid as New York Jet fans. And Joe was positing that there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of angst there, decades worth. And I really feel that if the Jets are winning, that building can be a tough place to play. We talk about Philadelphia being a tough place to play. The Jet fans have something to cheer about, something to let all those years of frustration out. It's time to shout at mommy and daddy, Jet fans. What do we have? I mean, that's all it really
Jet
is.
fans with expectations. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? I feel like here we are. It's like it's deja vu all over again, right? The old Yogi Berra thing where we're sitting here and we're exactly where we were last year, which is, okay, well, the defense is really good. So from a fantasy perspective, actually, the Jets defense.
And they had Dalvin
should
Cook.
be aggressive on. Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Dalvin Cook.
Right? You forgot about that.
Is Dalvin Cook could really hurt Breece Hall. Remember that nonsense people were talking? I was like, what have you watched that a Dalvin Cook that means he's going to take away carries of Breece Hall? What the hell's happening here? Serenity now. But Aaron Rodgers, ran on the field with the flag and then, got carted off the field a few minutes later. And that's, where we are here with this Jets team. They can go as far as Aaron Rodgers can take them. I still say I hate the fact that Aaron Rodgers isn't playing in the preseason. I think it's a mistake. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think that there's something to not playing football for a while, and then, you're in your 40s. And I'm not saying he doesn't have anything left in the tank. Sure. But he is still at this stage of his career. He is a QB2 in Superflex. That's what he is. Don't make any kind of assumptions that he's anything more than that. It is going to be a team that's going to run the football, and they are going to play defense. It's not going to be a team that's in a lot of shootouts, right? That's not their MO. Run the football, play defense. When you have a lead, run the football some more. So that really bodes well for Breece Hall as long as he can handle that workload. And it's going to be much better for him this year because what you saw last year was already fantastic, but that more removed from the injury he is, the more scoring opportunities with an actual quarterback. The quarterback play was so bad last year. And Nathaniel Hackett is frankly a joke as a coordinator. He was a complete joke as a head coach. That experiment didn't last very long. The reason why he's got a job is frankly because Aaron Rodgers gets to do whatever he wants. And that's it. Period. End of story. Anywhere else, Hackett would not be employed if his last name wasn't Hackett and Aaron Rodgers wasn't the guy he was coordinating. And I use coordinating in air quotes because really it's not. It's just Aaron Rodgers choosing his plays. But Garrett Wilson is the one thing, too, where we've seen, Devontae Adams explode and be the guy. So the reception total here is 95 in the projections, 1188 for the receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. There's a world where this is greater than that. There's a world where he was well over 100 catches on the year, maybe closer to 1250 and maybe closer to 10. So there's upside for more, depending on how Aaron Rodgers does and how long he stays on the field and if he has any other issues regarding health or any other issues, period, that could hurt the chemistry of this
mental
team.
and physical health.
And to think that that's not a liability in your investment, it's stupid. Of course, it's a piece that you have to consider. I always used to bring this back. You're a baseball guy, Matt. I always used to talk about Milton Bradley. Remember Milton Bradley? Okay? Sure. Milton Bradley is one of these guys, and if you just took the talent of Milton Bradley, man, what an incredible talent that guy was. But he was nuts, and he made a lot of bad decisions, said a lot of wrong things, did a lot of wrong things, and sometimes things just did not work out for him in certain spots. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the great skilled quarterbacks that we've seen in the league, but he's also been a guy that sometimes when the stage gets big, he hasn't been big enough for the stage. And outside of that one run where he had the Super Bowl, I'm right. And you can tell me I'm wrong all you want. The stats prove differently. The 8-8 record in the postseason proves differently. So don't tell me about the greatness of Aaron Rodgers and put him in the Brady, Manning, Montana, because it's not even in the same breath as those guys. But this is about fantasy. This is about 2024. Mm-hmm. And Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall are first-round picks regardless. And now the fact that they have Tyrod Taylor, a much more capable backup, if things go awry, makes me feel personally a little better about those investments. Does the Tyrod Taylor addition make you feel better about Hall, about Garrett Wilson? Because you saw Taylor play pretty well last year for the Giants when he was called upon.
Listen, here's the thing. The Jets have everything they need, but the one thing no one's talking about is the defense. And I think that if Aaron Rodgers starts to make some decisions and do certain things that puts the Jet defense in a bad place, he's going to lose this entire team. And that, to me, you've talked about it a lot. What goes on behind closed doors, things that we don't see, what goes on from the neck up can really impact a huge market team that is finally going to have the eyes and the lights of the city upon it. Let's see how they react. Speaking of eyes and lights of a tough town, the Philadelphia Eagles, a tough place to play. Let's preview this Eagles team. Let's go.
Yeah, Kellen Moore, the new offensive coordinator, which is a really good thing because last year it was a hot mess. I mean, Kellen Moore was coordinator of the Cowboys, coordinator with the Chargers, so he's been around the league a while, much more established, much better situation. Jalen Hurts, still a top 3 quarterback. I would not bet on the 15 touchdowns again, especially without Kelsey there. I do believe Jason Kelsey is the straw that stirs the drink on the brotherly shove. Will they still be better than everybody else at it? Yeah. Will they do it as much with Barkley now around? I don't think they need to, nor should they be putting Jalen Hurts in that situation as much at this stage in their career. I think there's a general dip on the Eagles. People still a little afraid of Saquon. I love Saquon this year. He's coming at a discount in the second round, and he's got a chip on his shoulder to prove something in the same division as the Giants. What a great situation. Jalen Hurts' value is still very good. A.J. Brown, first-round talent, absolutely. I know there was frustration at the end of the year. Look, I get it. The Eagles fell apart a little bit. That schedule took its toll mentally, physically. The Eagles unraveled last year. It's a fresh start for them. I still think Sirianni's a good coach, and I think now that the offensive coordinator has changed, I think we're in a better spot. But A.J. Brown is still a player that I very much want. Look, 94 catches, 1,300 yards. There's a reason why he goes ahead of Garrett Wilson, and I think that's the reason why. I'm fading Dallas Goedert. Devontae Smith is still a good wide receiver 2/3. Brown is still the main target there, but the Eagles offense is going to be, I think, more consistent, and I think they're going to shake the dust off of a disappointing 2023, and get back to business in 2024, and that's good news for the fantasy value of all of these guys. We're going to hit a break. We return on Fantasy Sports today, a little 3 and out to close out FST.
Hello everybody from Arlo White in the Live Broadcast Studio, and welcome to highlights of another excellent day's golf on Super Saturday in Greenbrier. Now, Live Golf history was made by this man, the high flyer's Brendan Steele. This is his second shot at the par 5, 17th. In it goes, the first albatross in league history, and it's Brendan Steele who is all smiles. Cam Smith teed off at 18 today. He made a par there, then proceeded to card a 27 over the front 9 holes to briefly take the lead. This was his third at 12, an eagle for Cam there, but he was overall level par through his last 8 holes and his 3 off the lead. Brooks Koepka is seeking a 5th LIV Golf title. No other man has more than 3. A pair of 64s for Brooks. He's 12 under par. That was his birdie putt at 18. But today was all about Jon Rahm, who is hunting a second straight win in the LIV Golf League after his first victory at the JCB in the UK, and he's also hunting down Wako Niemann for the overall title of LIV Golf League champion for 2024. A remarkable round of 62 today for Jon Rahm. That was his second into 17. This is his tee shot at 18. And you wouldn't bet against Jon Rahm going back-to-back and taking a lead into the final regular season event in Chicago in 3 weeks' time, seeking a first prize of $18 million. And he rounded things off superbly with a birdie putt at the first, and 8 under par 62 today. Jon Rahm will take a 2-stroke lead into Championship Sunday. Ripper lead the team comp by 1.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here. And I don't know who you are, and I don't know if you need to hear it, but I'm not kidding around. I love you. We all do. It's what makes this place go around. Dude, seriously, try it. Just try it, man. When you're done watching this show, take a second and shoot someone a text or, dare I say, a phone call, or look them in the eye and just be like, yo, I love you. I love having you in my life. It's a lot better when you're around. And that's how I feel about all of you, especially you, Joe. All right, with that said, it's time for 3 and out. It's a lot better than being like, I hate everybody. Oh, my gosh. Joe, 3 and out, man. 3 things to which you're looking forward to the next week here before we.
I like that. On a Sunday, you spread some love around. You know, especially if you're having fantasy drafts. Take a look around that room. Remember a couple years ago when you couldn't be in the same room with everybody and have a fantasy draft, but now you can? Take that in. Enjoy it. Have some fun out there this weekend on a Sunday. And I'm with Matt. The positivity, it's very powerful. I don't know how powerful Bo Nix is going to be, but it was a good first preseason game for him, and now he's got a chance tonight to show a little bit more. Maybe I'm wrong about Bo Nix. Maybe he's not the guy who was at Auburn all those years and completely disappointing. Maybe he is the guy that found himself in Oregon and now finds himself the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, and maybe Sean Payton can get the best out of him. Let's see. If he can, all of a sudden, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Franklin, a bunch of these guys all of a sudden start to have a little bit more fantasy value. So this is one to pay attention to tonight and see if round 2 of Bo Nix is useful. Also, looking ahead, the health of the wide receiving core for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. This is very important. You want everybody to stay healthy here, and you want Christian Watson especially to stay healthy. That's the other one that's really looming right now. You want to make sure you're getting that because Christian Watson, I think, can be that true breakout star. We've seen glimpses of it with Rodgers, glimpses with Love, but if we get a full season out of Christian Watson, that guy's a league winner potentially. And Jaden Reed isn't going away. Jaden Reed's still a very useful guy. Romeo Dobbs still useful. Dontavian Wicks is fun. We've seen that. But for Wicks, I think he's still the 4th guy on the depth chart. So unless there's an injury, things are going to get tough for him. But regardless, I think it's still one of the better investments. You see some of these offenses with quarterbacks who aren't as good as Jordan Love, and a lot of the wide receivers are going in far greater ADPs. So the Green Bay Packers collectively are a really interesting value as a team at the wide receiver position, considering how good their quarterback was last year. And the last thing to watch for is the Justin Jefferson ADP. Will it continue to slip more the longer people have time to settle in with Sam Darnold as quarterback? Now, I wouldn't let it slip too much. I wouldn't let it slip past like the 8th spot. I think that's about it. He's still holding strong at 6 for now, but I've seen some other drafts, and I've had some expert drafts myself where I've seen him go as late as 8. And that is an extreme value on Justin Jefferson, no matter who is playing quarterback. So that's the thing, Matt. We're in that where sometimes the preseason news, performances move the needle a little bit in terms of ADP. But when are your big drafts coming up, buddy? You want to get in another league? We got one open spot left. You want to come join that league? It's drafting, I think 2 Mondays from now, right? Leading up to the season. Can we get Matt Striker out? 2 Mondays from now.
Let me tell you, I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. You're going to tell me
they're going to be
2 Mondays from now, Labor Day night.
Read them a story, you put them to bed, and then you go do the fantasy draft. That's what you do.
Joe has a young daughter that is actually celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, young lady. But Joe, you remember when the kids were little, you don't make plans. You don't do that. But I will say this, there is something I am looking forward to for everyone that does draft. Just understand that the minute you look at your team, don't start making trade offers right away. Please give managers a chance to settle in and look at their waiver wire. They will respond to you, I promise. But come on now. With that said, Joe, this has been a fantastic show. Each and every week, we're ramping it up more and more. And next week, we're going to be doing more of the same as people get ready and kickoff gets closer and closer.
Yeah, next week, we're going to finish up the team previews. We're almost at the end game there. Got some interesting ones left, including your Commanders as well. So we're getting closer to that. And look, there'll be some more news that's going to break. We saw Stephon Gilmore sign today, too, with the Vikings. So there you go, Viking fans. I don't know if he's going to play quarterback, but there you go. We'll see what's left in the tank for Stephon Gilmore. But some really interesting movement in this offseason, too, so far. Like I said, the Judon trade, I don't think anybody quite saw that coming to the Falcons, and they got Simmons, too. So Falcons are loading up. It's going to be a really fun season. You see Derrick Henry with the Ravens now. You see a rejuvenated squad there with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow healthy again. There's a lot of good football here. It's going to be an exciting season, and we're going to help you dominate all your leagues. So make sure you stick with us here at SportsGrid and at FST every single Sunday morning in season 2. It doesn't get any better than that. Trust me, I've looked. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Matt Striker, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Enjoy your Sunday and watch those games tonight.
Russell Wilson listed as quarterback 1 on, of course, every team's got to put out these dopey unofficial depth charts before their preseason games. Wilson listed as 1, but Fields is going to start the preseason opener against the Texans.
I still think they're going to start Wilson, but, if they start Fields, so be it. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I know this. I think they're both talented.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.